So the one thing you said there, which is like the truth. This is a slightly different topic, but well, it's a totally different segue.
Mhm.
But it's interesting because I'm talking about jujitsu now. The that is the truth. That is the martial arts truth. Aside from like knife fighting, which I also study, you can't pressure test it. Knife fighting. I'm not gonna get a live knife, be like, hey, this is gonna
Sure.
work. You can get one of those like buzzer knives where it's like if it touches you, it goes beep beep beep, right? But that's not enough of a pressure test to like know that in a fight this is how it'll work. And even if you just get grazed a little bit, you're still gonna be cut. Can my hand still hold the knife if
Mhm.
I'm cut a little bit? So like to me, that's like the highest level of self defense because you're like we're dealing with weapons now. But below that, but there's no truth there. There's too much uncertainty. But in terms of like truth, jujitsu, 100%.
Mhm.
And I can honestly say that because so every time a new person joins the gym, especially like a white belt, or like they move up to the next class where they're like, because the where I study, it's like you can't join live rolling until you've gotten to a certain level,
Okay.
or else it's just not
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
Like you don't
Right.
know any of the moves, bro.
Sure.
So um, there's people that join the class, and then I'm always gravitate towards them. It's kind of weird because I'm like a higher belt, but I'm like, no, I want to see what you think you know,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
because you might pull out something that I've never seen. I'm like, oh, what is this, right? So there was a black belt in judo who joined
Mhm.
the advanced class. They were just like doing a drop in, and I was like, oh, let's see what I know. Like, let's see what I know compared to them. Like, obviously, I've studied other martial arts, but like, let's just see if what I know in jujitsu will match up against what the black belt in judo knows, right? Because like grappling. So uh, I was able to like stop their throws, and again, jujitsu is about the ground. It's not actually about like stopping a takedown. So I was, oh, you totally froze there. Are we still good?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe it's
Okay, you're like, hella choppy.
that's probably in your end because I don't see choppy, and you're fine on my side.
Oh, it's mine, right? All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So the all right, this black belt in judo joined, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, let me see. And then because they're not their main focus is about stand up and throwing,
You're right. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna be thrown. That's fine. But what happens if we like continue the roll?
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
because like a fight's not over just because you got thrown, right? So they were able to throw me, not like hard, but they did get me to the ground. And then as soon as we hit the ground, I realized, oh crap, you don't know anything. Like worse than a white belt, because at least the white belts that join us, they go through like that period of like you learn an X amount of moves, so that um like you can kind of survive. But this person has just jumped in, right? And even though they're a black belt, and people listen to this like black belts are all different, like maybe some jujitsu, judo black belts know different moves. But I'm like, okay, you're just like a regular black belt that I'm like a not like a competitive black belt. You're just like there who's gotten a black belt,
Right.
so
Right. Right.
you join the class. And what I realized is like if you don't know the moves, you are like you're like not a fish. You're literally drowning. Like they say that as well, where it's like we're swimming on the mats. So if
Mhm.
you don't know how to swim, you're gonna drown. And I was just like easily going from position to position, not even trying to go for the sub because that's just rude now. Like, why would I sub
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't even know the moves. And I was watching them kind of panic and like they didn't even know where to push my leg and like all that. And I was like, oh, this is the easiest thing ever. And then I was like, I went to a family party and I always like try and mess with my cousins because I'm like, before it's like I didn't know as much to be like, I can take you out with full confidence. So I was like always trying to test myself because like, oh, you're bigger. Like my cousins are bigger and stronger than me, right? And I can go hard on
Mhm.
them, and they can go hard on me. So like, I was just at this cousin's party, and I was telling like, shout out to you because you know who you are. Um, I was like, I don't even want to wrestle you guys anymore. And they're like, why? And I'm like, it's just like after the experience with the judo black belt, I'm like, this is just rude. Like, why? You know what I mean? It's like you don't even know. Like, I'm just gonna tap you over and over and over, and it's just like,
Mhm.
why are we doing that, man? You're just being a jerk, you know? And the reason why I say it's the truth is like all martial arts deliver a promise that not every martial arts can keep. So like on my first one, oh, you'll be able to defend yourself, whatever, whatever. But it was a lot of like Taekwondo style kicks. Like, will that really work? I
Mhm.
don't know.
Mhm.
I watched this old video of me and my old training partner sparring, and we were just like tap kicking each other. And I was like, oh, dude, we don't even know we thought if we tap kick somebody, they'd go to the ground and they'd be like, oh, I'm dead, you know. But it's like no. Or like boxing, it's like, well, what happens if they kick your legs? Or like knife fighting, it's like, well, what if you get cut? But this is the only one that like I highly advocate to people who really want to learn martial arts. Again, if you just want like the exercise, don't do this one because it's very violent. But like, it's true what they say. With all the things that people say about jujitsu, I've actually hit a level now where psychologically, I'm like, I get what you guys were talking about,
Mhm.
and that's like very rare. Yeah. I just want to bring that up because it's like we all we all have a promise of marketing, but how true is that thing?
Mhm.
And it's interesting to see like, oh, you guys totally delivered on what you promised us.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Anyways, um yeah. The the other aspect of that, because I was like telling Taylor that one of the big or was your biggest fear?
Uh,
Like all right, this is actually linked, and this is why I wanted to
what do you mean?
also
I've
talk
just
about it.
seen like flying. I don't know.
Just no, like your deepest fear. Like okay,
Oh, like
I'm just gonna
snakes?
say what it
Like
is.
snakes?
No, but like not really snakes, because like there's no snakes in the thing.
Yeah.
I think that every male's biggest fear, like whether we admit it or not, is being embarrassed in front of the one that we love. Not embarrassed like, oh, I slipped. Embarrassed
I see what you're saying.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure.
manhandled.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right,
Right?
right, right.
Imagine it. Like I even said this to her, I'm like, if somebody held me down in front of you and then just beat the shit out of me, I would feel really bad. Like as a man, as like a
Sure.
human being,
Yeah,
like I was
yeah.
like, oh dude, that sucks. Like you know what I mean? Like not even like if I slipped in front of you, whatever, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. But it's like being babied in front of you.
Mhm.
Like what does that even mean? Like you know what I mean? It's like so egoic. It's like ingrained in
Yeah,
human
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right,
maleness,
right,
right?
right, right.
But it's something we don't really think about, right? It's at our subconscious deepest level, that is our biggest fear.
Mhm.
Aside from like heights and all that, because I'm not in a height moment right now, you know? But like that's scarring, you know?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And like with jujitsu, if you don't know jujitsu or like some form of self defense to give you but jujitsu is like the ultimate form to flip that switch in your mind of like, oh, I'll protect myself no matter what. Like, it's a joke. Like, I can't even fight you because it's like this just mean, you know. Um, then you walk around, you walk around with that little bit of fear to be like, I need to fight you.
Mhm.
So what I mean by that is like, a lot of people will get, damn, a lot of people will get into fights. Okay, and they say that most martial artists will not get into a fight because they know like the true nature of violence. And I think that that's like true. Imagine the world where everybody knew how violent things can get, on top of the fact that they knew how to like mitigate it or like defend themselves in that way.
Right.
Where it's like, would we even have problems? You know what I'm saying? Because like the confidence that it gives you to walk away,
Mhm.
that's a different
Sure.
confidence than to start a fight.
Mhm.
People who are like, "Oh, I'm gonna fight you right now." I was talking to this one person I know, and they're like, "Oh man, my friends and my husband always get into fights. Whenever we go out party, they'll always get into a fight." And I was like, "Do they know how to fight?" That was the very first question. And they're like, "No, they've never trained." I'm like, "Yep, that makes sense."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because they're looking for it to be it's that feeling of like but what if I get manhandled by you in front of my wife?
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna want to strike first. They're gonna try and posture out and be like, "Yo, get away from me, or else I'm gonna blah blah blah," right? And it's like it's just because you don't really know how this will go, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Are you like, oh, I disagree, or like,
No, I think that makes sense in most scenarios. Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Or do you think we'd sell violence if people knew the truth about violence? I'm sure we'd
Uh,
have violence, but
no,
it'd be
yeah,
like we're like high level skill now. We're like really fighting, you know?
yeah. Then it's a different level, right?
Yeah,
Because
you're like,
most people don't have that level of experience, right? So
mhm.
yeah, it's that's why I guess they jump into these things, but they don't really know what violence is, right? They don't know.
Yeah,
So that's
and we'd have a lot less of those
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if like if I knew, because the thing about jujitsu is like even a small person, if they have better skill than you, there's a freaking I love it every time. So like I know I do this for people, and then there's some people that do this
Mm-hmm.
for me. So I will I will go against I always will go against a really big, stronger guy. Because I'm like, if it doesn't work against you, why am I trying to learn it? And then they're like, oh no, but stay in your weight category because it's sport. I'm like, I don't care about that stuff, bro. I care about like, what if this really went down? So the big dude, who I go with a lot, I can like either control or tap them out, and to them, they're like, how is this little person doing this to me? So I know I provide that to them. But then there's this little kid who like I think he's like 16, and when he first started, he was like one of the younger belts, and he like joined up. And then I started to like show him like, hey, it could be a little. You could probably get me if you do this, and then like
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 blah. And then he started just tapping me out to the point where after class, I was like, I had to spend 30 minutes being like, do that move on me again, and I had to keep doing it until I figured out how to counter that move. Because I'm like, how is this little kid tapping me out, and
Right.
not even muscle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I know that if I speak to like a woman or like an elderly person in real life and like they bump me or like I bump them. No, no, no. Yeah, I bump them and I'm like, oh, sorry. It's because I don't know, you know. And that's the thing about like jiu-jitsu where it's like, I don't know how good you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even want to test it because I know I could defend, but you might catch me. So it's like, let's just save that for the mats. Like, we want to train together, sure. But like,
Sure.
you know what I'm trying to say? It's
Yeah, yeah,
like, but that's what I think the piece would be if people all knew it, because then we'd all like second guess. Because we all know that experience of a smaller person tapping us out. So we're like, I don't know if you're actually much better than me. So we'll leave it alone.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you don't know what that's like, and this is what I mean about the violence, if you don't know what that's like, then you're going to be like, well, I'm bigger. I'm going to punch you first.
Mm-hmm.
So then people get into fights, you know?
Yeah.
You could see that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, being like the equalizer. If they, like, you get my point of view, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I get your point of view. Yeah.
You think it has legs, or you're like, I don't know.
It'd probably have to end up being like, how do you convince everyone to do it? And it has to be part of a curriculum kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean they do that in like schools. Like they have judo in all through high school for Japanese people.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling in America, but I feel like even though most people are like martial arts are violent, I think they're a necessary evil in order to keep the peace. It's like the stronger. Like why do you have nukes? Because you're afraid that the person will use the nuke, and that's why you don't drop the nuke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you keep things civil because somebody has a bigger weapon than you.
Yeah.
You know, like weapons keep the peace, even though people don't like that
Yeah, yeah,
realization.
yeah.